right, I am excited here today to introduce everyone to Damian Cisco. If you are looking to move to the Orlando area, you probably have heard some stories about homeowners insurance. It's one of the biggest concerns that I often hear, and one of the things that people will say is it's either impossible to get unless you have a brand new home, or it's outrageously expensive. It's really neither, and Damian will share that with us today. So Damian, thank you for joining. Maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself as we get started.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Again, my name is Damian Cisco with Compare Insurance. We are the broker division for Liberty Mutual. So basically, we've partnered with over 30 carriers in the state of Florida to help clients shop home, auto, renter's insurance, and much, much more.
So tell me, I did mention some of the misconceptions. Are there any kind of other misconceptions about insurance in Florida?
I think there's a misconception when it comes to home insurance in general, where, some people think, oh, well, my roof is 18 years old. I'm going to file a claim to get my roof repaired. It's not really how insurance works. I've had a couple people ask if they should file a claim for that, but unless your roof is damaged from a covered peril by the policy, the insurance company would not just replace your roof.
It has been interesting after like a hailstorm or a big storm, the line of roofing trucks out in the neighborhood that come around and offer to do an inspection and help you get the insurance. And has that been one of the big reasons why insurance cost has risen so much here in Florida?
Absolutely. There was a good 3 or 4 year streak where people were just knocking on people's doors, very friendly, very nice, and just offering free roof inspections and, getting people to get their roof replaced when it's 2 years old and there's really no reason to replace it has really impacted the entire industry in the state of Florida.
I think another thing that I hear an awful lot is that insurance carriers are pulling out, or they're not insuring anymore in Florida for homeowners insurance. How does that happen, and what happens to somebody if their carrier decides to no longer provide insurance?
There's two scenarios. So first scenario is where the carrier pulls out the entire state and leaves, like farmers, for example. So when they do something along those lines, they're not writing business, they don't want any business in the state of Florida. They give their clients an option. So basically, usually around 3 or 4 months before the policy expires, they get a letter in the mail, let them know they're leaving the state, and they have 2 or 3 carriers that they are referring you to that you can accept or find a new policy on your own. And there's other scenarios like Liberty Mutual and Progressive where they're not just necessarily leaving the state, but they're not accepting any new business right now. So they'll maintain their current client base and service them and pay claims if something were to happen, but they're not accepting any new business in the state of Florida at this time.
Do they ask people to replace their roof in order to maintain and keep their insurance policy?
Yeah. I've seen situations where carriers do what they call an aerial visual of your home, mainly looking at the roof. They do it every couple of years, kind of like where an auto carrier will run your driving history every couple of years, just to kind of keep things honest and make sure they're rating you properly. So if they do an aerial image of your home and they notice that there's tree branches touching your roof, or you're missing shingles, or there's damage, a lot of wear and tear, they could potentially send you a letter saying they're gonna pre-cancellation letter is what I call it, letting you know you have X amount of time to replace your roof, or you can find a new carrier once everything has been completed.
Is that just somebody back office kind of going through Google Earth and looking at satellite images and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at this point they're getting some help with AI.
Oh man, okay. Well, let me ask a couple other things. So when I moved here with my family a few years ago, it was Orlando, period. My wife wanted to live near Disney, just like a lot of our customers do. But definitely there seems to be some kind of geographic impact. Like, we're outside of the path of most of the hurricanes in Orlando. The price for insurance seems to be better. than, let's say, a Miami or Pensacola or Tampa.
Correct.
Is that pretty accurate? Is there some difference there?
Yes. So the insurance companies rate their policies on risk. What are the odds of them paying a claim? They really don't want to pay a claim, number one. So, if the odds of them having to pay a claim in one location is higher than the other, the rate will reflect. So your coastal properties, anything down south, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, will always be $2,000 to $3,000 a year or more higher than something in Central Florida, for example.
Obviously, there's a lot of factors, and I'd love to hear what some of those factors are in determining kind of what premiums would be or how you quote people.
Yes.
But let's say a brand new construction around the 600,000 price range here in Winter Garden. What could someone expect as a ballpark for a homeowner's policy?
Insuring it at the 600,000, but being the fact that it's brand new in Central Florida, I can't imagine it being more than $1,800 to about $2,300 for the year. Maybe even less, depending if it's gated or they have an alarm. To where if you take that same property and put it in Fort Lauderdale, we're looking $5,000 and up for annual premium.
Well, that's pretty reasonable. Hopefully, for whoever might be watching this, my kids and my neighbor in New Jersey, and whoever else,
yes,
it seems reasonable. Less than
newer
$3,000
homes are
for
favored.
homeowners insurance. That seems to defy the myth that it's outrageous to get homeowners insurance.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely can be affordable. It's just certain factors can make a huge difference when it comes to the actual premium.
Yeah. Now, did you mention if it's gated?
Yes.
Could have an impact on the price. So, living in a gated community could actually bring the price down.
Yes, you get a discount. You get a credit for being in a gated community, and the other discount they give you would be for having like a monitored burglar alarm and fire alarm, for example.
I know that you've spoken before about the different types of policies. So there's different coverages. What are some of those? Are they dependent on whether there's a loan in place? Do most lenders require the same type of policy, or how does all that work?
All those different types of policies do work with lenders. The most important thing that the lender looks for or requires is full replacement cost. They want to make sure that if something happens to the house, there's enough coverage in the policy to rebuild the home to where it is today or better. With that being said, there's many different factors that they look at. Year of the home and location are going to give you the biggest factors and biggest impact to the price.
It looks like HO3 and HO5 policies versus DP3 and DP1.
Yes.
Is that something that most people would even know they exist?
Yes.
Or is this like an insider tip that if they're asking for a quote, they can kind of know some of these different types?
Yeah, this is kind of more of a higher level kind of view, but typically for an HO3 it is the most typical type of policy you're going to get. That's my primary residence. This is my home. This is where I live most of the time of the year. It's not rented out to anybody. That's where you're going to find your HO3s. And the HO5s, we're going to be more of a high value home. So homes insured over 500,000 will get an HO5. It's a little bit more comprehensive, not necessarily more expensive, but just a little bit more comprehensive policy if they qualify for it. And then you're going to have your DP3s and DP1s, which are going to be used for like a rental property or short-term rental, Airbnb, or even you're doing some internal major renovations to the home and the home is vacant for a little while you do that. You have different policy forms for different scenarios.
And is there a big price difference between those types of policies?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say we're looking at an HO3 policy, but the home is being renovated internally. So instead of an HO3, we'll look at a DP1, for example, and a DP1 will have a lot less coverage. It's just certain coverages that you can't get on a DP1 that automatically come on an HO3. So automatically it's gonna be cheaper just because number one, it's gonna have less coverage.
And if someone, let's say, buys a place as a second home, vacation home, or maybe it's occasionally rented out, Airbnb, that kind of thing, and it's, one of these DP3 type of situations. Is that typically more expensive than a regular homeowner's policy?
Not necessarily. I've seen maybe a difference of $10 to $20 per month, if that. It's not too much. As long as it's occupied, that's what they care about. There's someone there monitoring the homes in case something leaks. It's not just sitting there for months at a time. If you said this is my seasonal residence, I'm only there 2 months out of the year, then you'll see probably more of a surcharge on that type of policy versus someone being there 9 months or more out the year, even if it's a rental.
So I know one of the big differences that I've noticed between real estate in New Jersey and in Florida is with some of the inspections. And in Florida, it's pretty typical to have a 4-point inspection and a wind mitigation inspection. We don't have a whole lot of wind mitigation inspections up in New Jersey, right? Talk to us a little bit about those inspections and how they play a role in getting homeowners insurance.
The wind mitigation and 4-point inspection, those are basically going to tell the insurance carrier the condition of your home. So number one, the 4-point inspection is looking at the 4 main things, which is why it's called a 4-point. So number 1 is looking at the roof. Number 2, electrical. Number 3, plumbing. And number 4, things like the water heater and AC systems. So if the water heater, for example, is more than 15 years old, it's going to have to be replaced if you want new coverage with most carriers. So that will kind of tell them. It also has pictures of things. So it has pictures of the water lines underneath the sinks. So if these water lines are more than 10 years old or have rust or green or blue mildew, they're going to have to be replaced. It's usually an indication that there's something leaking or they're more than 10 years old. Same thing with the water lines behind the washing machine, where the wind mitigation report is going to give details of the age of the roof, the shape, and overall how the roof is attached to the house will determine how much of a discount they're going to get for the windstorm credit. So there's not one amount. Like if you get a windstorm, a wind mitigation report, you're not automatically going to get $200 off your policy. It all depends on how the roof is attached to your house. So the windstorm credits vary.
So partially like the roofing material, maybe the shingle versus the clay, and that kind of thing.
Yes. So the roofing material is part of it. The roof shape is a big part. Like if it's a hip roof, you're going to get a greater discount than having a gable roof. And one of the other things they look at is the roof deck attachment, basically how the roof is attached to the home internally, like through the attic. So if it's toenails, you're going to get the smallest discount. But if you have wraps or clips, you're going to get the higher discounts or higher windstorm credits.
Okay, yeah, those are great things to know. Now, homeowners that maybe even aren't planning to move also get those inspections, right? The 4-point and the wind mit, and they'll typically get those to either help with an insurance policy renewal or is there a certain time frame? Are you supposed to get those over like at regular intervals?
Not necessarily. So the wind mitigation is good. Wind mitigation report is good for 5 years. So after that, the insurance company doesn't really generally ask you for a new one, but if you want to move from one carrier to another, they're going to expect that wind mitigation report to be less than 5 years old. Same thing with the 4-point. 4-point inspections are generally good for 12 months. If it's more than that and you want to move to a new carrier, then they may require it to get new coverage. But if you're with the same carrier for a long time, maybe after 10 years, let me ask, just to kind of make sure you're maintaining your home properly. But generally that doesn't happen very often. But if you have a newer home, like 2015 or newer, you don't generally have to worry about any of those reports because the risk to the insurance carrier is much lower since the home is so new. Plumbing is newer, electrical is newer. It's everything's up to code.
So aside from some of those mechanical or roof and structural type of issues, what are some other things that might affect the cost of insurance? Like a pool, for example. Would a pool affect the insurance?
The pool will only affect the insurance in a way to where the rebuild costs will go up. So Not only do they have to factor in the cost of the house, they factor in the cost to rebuild the pool, so to say. So,
Okay.
I mean, but that generally doesn't add that much to the dwelling amount or the coverage amount, so it doesn't impact the premium a whole lot. So no, it doesn't make too much of a difference when it comes to having a pool or no pool, just as long as it's fenced or screened. That's what the carriers worry about.
Any other factors then that any other
Yes.
features maybe in a home that people should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, other than, having water lines more than 10 years old or water heaters over 15 years old, another huge factor is going to be claims. So if you're a person who makes many claims, to some carriers, if you have a claim in the last 3 years and it's not from a storm, you can't even get coverage with them. It's an automatic decline for them. So claims is a huge factor, and then also insurance scores. So insurance scores is basically based from how long you've had insurance before, claims, any type of lapse of coverage, things of that nature.
So even taking into consideration history from out of state, from a different location, would that be factored in?
Absolutely. All claims, just like auto insurance, claims will follow you for up to 5 years. In most cases, when we're doing a quote, let's say you're buying a new home and you live in New Jersey, I need both addresses. I need where you live now, and also need of course, the property address that we're looking to quote.
Now, there are a lot of luxury homes in this area, also large properties, million and above sale price. Any special considerations on these luxury homes?
Not necessarily. I mean, generally, the only consideration I can say is that they qualify for a little bit more of a comprehensive policy, the HO5, but not all carriers offer that. So that doesn't really apply in all scenarios. One thing that they do for higher value homes is a lot of cases they'll request to do an interior and exterior inspection. So not only do you have to submit reports depending on the age of your home, they're going to want to see recent pictures of the home, because they're insuring so much, the risk is so high. They want to make sure that the home is almost claim-free proof. So, again, they do not want to pay a claim.
What are some of the big mistakes you see people make when they're trying to get insurance, or maybe coming to you after they've already messed up elsewhere?
Well, one thing that I see often that really affects the price or overall decision of the, carrier approves them or not, is people just calling the claim center and asking general questions, or, should I make a claim, or am I covered for this? Anytime you call the claims department of an insurance carrier, they open a claim for you. Whether something is paid out or not, it counts against you. It doesn't necessarily affect your premium, but if you go shop around, it will show in claims history, and it could also encourage that carrier to ask for proof of repair or what was damaged, and it just could make it a lot more difficult for you to get coverage. So if you have an agent that you can ask ahead of time before you call the insurance company to see if this is a covered claim or if you should even make a claim, that it's definitely recommended.
Be careful of just asking too many questions with your insurance company.
Absolutely.
And there are public adjusters, or there's other people you can find answers to. Maybe even, as opposed to calling the claim center, call somebody like Damien here.
Yes.
To your trusted advisor, your local broker, that you can ask the questions and they'll be able to guide you in the right way. I know that you don't just do homeowners insurance. You also do auto insurance, and
yes,
auto insurance in Florida also seems to be a bit higher than other parts of the country.
Yes. Yes.
What's the story there? What tell us a little bit more about the auto insurance here in Florida.
Okay, so I'm licensed in other states, and Florida is the most unique state. So starting with the fact that we are the only state that will allow someone to drive around with no liability coverage. So you literally can get a policy with zero liability, but also still get comprehensive collision. So you still have full coverage for your car, but you don't have any protection if you hit someone else. So you're basically almost like being uninsured. So that's one problem. Also, the state minimum liability limits are 1020, which is still little to no coverage. So in most cases, most people are underinsured. So if you have a Camry, which is, $25,000, $30,000, and someone hits you and they total your car and they have state minimum, well, the most insurance is going to pay out is $10,000. If you don't have the proper coverage, you could be paying that difference yourself. So that's part of the problem. A lot of drivers, it's almost 2 out of every 4 drivers don't have any insurance at all. And of course, we have a lot of tourists.
Wait, where was I supposed to turn? Wait.
Yes. So left signal, right turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's multiple reasons for the industry of home and auto insurance in Florida to be kind of falling apart. Not necessarily falling apart, but kind of very expensive and unique to any other state out there.
Yeah, and I know, or maybe you can speak into this a little bit, but people get kind of like very loyal to their insurance company over the years. Being a veteran, I've had USAA for 20 something years, but they're very expensive here in Florida. And I overpaid for a couple years. I mean, I would recommend to people as they're relocating here to definitely shop around. Don't just,
Yes.
I'm with, XYZ, even if it's Liberty Mutual. Still make sure that you shop around and find the best coverages for your situation. But there are certain carriers that are just much higher in Florida than they are in other parts of the country.
And it wasn't always like that. 3 years ago, if you told me, Damien, I want you to shop my auto insurance, I've been with USAA for 10 plus years, there would probably be a 0% chance I'm able to help you find a better rate. Now, I'm helping people switch from USAA left and right. Something has changed in the last couple of years here in Florida for them, and they just do not want the business.
Are there other maintenance issues? I think what I've realized, and I'm hoping to be able to have conversations with some tire experts, but man, the air goes out of tires real fast here in Florida. Just with the heat and maybe with the humidity or the temperature of the roadways. But that seems to cause some accidents as tires blow out and that sort of thing also.
Yeah. You want to check your tires every 30 days in the state of Florida between the humidity and the slick roads after it rains. It rains almost every day here.
Yeah.
So tires are very, very important.
What part of the process of buying a home or maybe reinsuring a home, what's the best way to start getting their insurance guy involved?
Basically, once you have a property or a couple different properties picked out, if you're looking to relocate to Florida, anytime you find a property of interest and you think you're gonna like being there, once we have your information, we do a quote. We can easily update your profile with the new address in case the other one doesn't work out. Rerun the numbers pretty quickly and send you an updated quote.
Awesome. And any other tips you think that people might not think about when they're ready to look for insurance?
Most important thing is if you're looking to relocate to Florida, make sure the roof is newer, no more than 10 years old. Make sure the water heater is no more than 15 years old. And overall, the home is in good condition, is what I'm going to say. If you are currently living in Florida and you want to shop around, make sure you get rates from at least 3 carriers or more, whether you have to call 3 different companies or you call a broker like myself who has 30 plus carriers that we can shop and do a lot of the hard work for you. You want to shop your rates at least once a year.
Okay, great information. People want to get in touch with you, how can they reach out?
They can call me direct. My work cell is 352-989-79446. And they can email directly Damien, DAMIAN.Cisco@libertymutual.com.
All right, well, that's awesome. Damien, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me here today. People
Thanks for having me.
That are considering the move and that are making their way here to the Orlando area. So thanks again.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me.